Question 24 in the Book of Questions. Are there people you envy enough to want to trade lives with them? Who are they? Right, well, I'm going to take the word trade in the American sense of swap. Envy, it's a bit of a negative emotion, wouldn't you say? I wouldn't say that I'm someone who suffers particularly from envy. I don't know that it's a very helpful emotion. Are there people who I envy enough to want to swap my lives with them? Well, what would swapping lives with someone actually be? Because if I say, oh, I'd love to be, I don't know, Mike Oldfield, because I'd love to be able to play the guitar that well, and I swap lives with him, if I become Mike Oldfield and he becomes me, then he would become me with all my memories, and he would then remember being me. Meanwhile, I would remember all of Mike Oldfield's past. I would now be Mike Oldfield, and when I met friends of Mike Oldfield, they would recognise me as Mike Oldfield, and I would recognise them because I have Mike Oldfield's memories now. And so, in fact, Mike Oldfield and we would both be completely unaware of having swapped lives. That's a bit of a duck-out question, but it's one to think about. If you actually swap lives with someone nobody would know, including you. But what about I keep my mind, but I'm now in the body of Mike Oldfield, and everyone else at first thinks that I'm Mike Oldfield. So I wake up and I think, whoa, what the hell's going on? My hand feels really weird, and walking's difficult because my legs are a different length now and my hips are a different width, and balance, okay, hang on, no, I've got this. And after a while I get the hang of, whoa, and people who know me were looking at me thinking, are you all right? And then I meet my children, and my children think, Dad, what? You're not yourself. What? Whoa, why are you talking like that? Whoa, you don't use those words. What? What? Even your accent's sounding a bit different. What's going on? And then I would pick up a guitar, and I don't know how to play it, and everyone would be expecting me to know how to play it, but I don't know how to play the guitar. There would be absolute hell. This would be something. That would be absolutely hellish. Why would I want that? Okay, so not that one. So the first one is irrelevant. The second one is no, I don't want to swap lives if that's what it means. So what do I actually get? If I swap lives with Mike Oldfield, do I have my memories of having been me and my appreciation of things that I like and what's good and bad and all that, and yet somehow I've got bits of his brain, so I can now play the guitar like him, so that when he goes on stage at the concert, everyone's not going to be tremendously disappointed in this new version of Mike Oldfield. Now, swapping suggests voluntary. Trade suggests voluntary. So he would have to want to swap with me. So if his life is so flipping great, why does he want to swap it for mine? That's another thing which would definitely put me off. So as soon as you start thinking the practicality of the situation, swapping lives with someone, wait a minute, no, that doesn't sound good. And if it's not voluntary and he swapped lives with me and then he finds himself living in my grotty little flat and being me, he might think, oh hell, I don't want to be a YouTuber, I want to be that thing that I was before that was way better, I don't know, some amazing rock star married to some fabulously beautiful woman or something, in which case he's going to find it pretty easy to track me down because I'm going to be him. He knows exactly where he used to live, he knows exactly where the keys to the back door are hidden in the garden and so forth, so he can get back in. Vengeance could be his pretty swiftly. Of course, I could prevent that by killing my old self, who's actually now him, but oh great, now I'm a murderer as well. So, would you commit murder in order to swap? You see what I mean? I'm changing the question really quite a bit. So as soon as one starts thinking about the practicalities of this, it all seems pretty bad. But are there people that I envy? Maybe that's really what this question is about. I might envy something about them, but there's a massive difference between that and wanting to swap lives with them. For instance, one of my university friends, he went to university, and in Freshers Week, in the little week that's before your very first proper week at university, your introductory week, which is a week of just parties and get to know you meetings, in Freshers Week, he met a woman who was so compatible with him that they immediately became boy and girlfriend, and they were boy and girlfriend all the way through university, and then after university they got married. I was at the wedding, and they're still married today, and as far as I can tell, very happily so. And if you meet them, you can see, oh yeah, I see why they married each other. They're, in terms of personality, outlook, style, desires, they're just so compatible. And I think, wow, you lucky so-and-so to so early, in Freshers Week, meet the one. And so I'm sort of envious of that. But whereas he may be in love with his wife, I'm not. I don't want to be married to her. I'm not saying she's a terrible person or anything, but she's just, she's not for me. So I can envy the fact that he met the one when he did, but I want to meet my one instead. So there's and envy. I don't envy them in any sort of they don't deserve it, they shouldn't have it, it's wrong, it's not fair. I don't envy them in that sense. I just think, oh, that would have been nice. And you could say that, thinking that would be nice is not really envy. Now, of course, if I get really old, if I manage to dodge all the buses that are trying to run me over, and I then get to the stage where I think, I'm getting a bit decrepit now and I don't have much life left, I'd quite like to swap lives with someone who's much, much younger than me so I get to live, a load more life. The trouble with that is it's tremendously selfish, isn't it? Because I'd then perhaps read in the paper of the death of me, and I appear to be dead. Blimey, that was only 2 years after the swap. So that young person didn't get to live very long, did they? Again, it's a form of murder. We're swapping for someone much younger than you in order to get better life. And again, why would they voluntarily do that? That suggests a certain amount of coercion on my part. So are the people you envy enough to want to trade slides with them? It's looking like a no, isn't it? Almost any way you interpret the question. Who are they? Well, if the first one is a no, then there isn't anyone. I suppose the only sort of person that I would rationally want to swap lives with is someone who's much, much happier than me. But of course, how happy you are is largely dependent on just whether you are naturally a happy person or not. So if I swapped into their life, I might find it to a rather high pressure. I mean, let's say it's a rock and roll star or whatever. Not that I'm saying that I particularly want to be a rock and roll. I'd love to be a movie director. Okay, I want to be a movie director, so I'd swap lives with some successful movie director. So great, I'm directing movies now, but you've got all the stresses and strains that go with being a movie director, and if they were able to be a movie director and stay really cheery and happy and whatever, then maybe that's because they were a naturally cheery and happy person, and possibly in exactly the same situation under the same pressures I wouldn't be so happy. And if you do something really, really drastic expecting it to bring you happiness and then it doesn't, I suspect that the disappointment might actually make you sadder than you were before you even did the drastic thing. Yes, I don't know, for instance, that people who have radical plastic surgery to make themselves beautiful actually end up that much happier. Yeah, it's looking like a big no.